In this nugget, you and I get to discuss and demonstrate how to request and install a Wildcard digital certificate. Or colors.acme.com, we could request a certificate that was an asterisk.acme.com. And then we could use that same certificate on multiple different hosts, instead of having to download and request an individual certificate for each and every host name. This would be a blanket certificate that we could use across our domain. So what you and I get to do is demonstrate how simple this is to set up, and then we'll verify that it works. On this Netscaler, we have already created an RSA key pair. And to verify, as we request our wildcard certificate. So we'll close this window, and then still under Netscaler, Traffic Management SSL, we'll select Create Certificate Signing Request. And let's go ahead and name this request Wildcard Request. And I'm just going to give it pair. Next, we'll scroll down. We'll put in the information regarding state and organization name and the city and the email address and the organizational unit and the common name. Now, it's right here where we're going to specify an asterisk for the host name instead of a name like colors or www. So if we put an asterisk there, .acme.com, then as customers connect to us, whether they connect to server 1 or colors or server 2 or Bubba or whatever host name they connect to, .acme.com, the host name doesn't have to match exactly because we're using a manage certificates, keys, and CSRs. Click on that link, scroll to the bottom, and there's our wildcard request. We'll select it. We'll click on View so we can see the contents of it. We'll do a Control A to select all of the content in this CSR, and then we'll do a Control C to copy it to our buffer, to our clipboard on my local computer. We'll dismiss that window, and then we'll make a road trip up to the Certificate Authority's website. So with Microsoft Certificate Services, it's the URL for the server /cert sr. So I'm going to name it wildcard.acme.com, and I'll leave the .cer extension on it. That won't hurt anything. So now we've got this wildcard certificate sitting in my file system on my computer. Now we can go ahead and install it wherever it needs to go, whether it's on a server or, in our case, on our Netscaler. So back at the Netscaler interface, we'll open up Traffic Management. We'll go down to SSL. We'll expand SSL, go to Certificates, and we'll simply click on Install to install our new Wildcard digital certificate on this Netscaler. So we'll click Install. I'm going to name this Wildcard for acme.com. It's asking for the certificate name. I'm going to use the drop down here and say it's on my local file system. And that opens up a browse window on my local computer. And here in my downloads folder, I've got the wildcard.acme.com.cer certificate. So we'll go ahead and double click on that to select it. Now it's asking for our key file name, because although the public key is part of the digital certificate, the private key is not. So it needs to associate in this digital certificate that we're working with what is the private key component that's going to be associated with the public key in the cert. So we'll click on Appliance, we'll browse the Appliance file system, and we'll select our RSA keys and click on Open. It's still in PEM format, it has not changed, and we'll put in the password so the system can open that file and get what it needs. And then click on Install. And it gave us a warning message saying, you know what, this operation works fine on the primary NetScaler in your HA pair, and I'm going to go ahead and synchronize it over to your secondary to make sure that it's now up to date as well. I'm going to click on OK with my gratitude and thanks. And now we've got this wildcard for Acme sitting here. Regarding this synchronization for the SSL, if we wanted to force plus symbol, and that brings it over to the left-hand side pane. Here we can click on that one server certificate, and we can click on Add Binding, and simply click from the list, select the wildcard for acme.com, click on OK, and click on Bind. And we get a message that says, hey, this is going to replace your previous digital certificate that was bound to this virtual server. We'll say, thanks for letting us know, that was our intent, and we'll click on Close. So I was thinking of a great way that we could test this. Now we have multiple VIPs. The VIP we have for the SSL virtual server is .4. And so what we could do inside of DNS, in DNS we could play a little game and we could create multiple entries. For example, we could create test.acme.com, have it point to .4 on this 23.1.2 network, and we could create one called bubba.acme.com, and have that point to the .4 address on this 23 network. And if our wire pointing to .4, we'll select acme.com, we'll right click, and let's create a new host record. And let's make one for test and give the IP address of 23.1.2.4. Click on Add Host, and let's do another one for Bubba. With that same address of 23.1.2.4, click on Add, and we are done. So there's test.acme.com and bubba.acme.com, both of them pointing to that same IP address. So we are back at Bob's PC, and on Bob's PC, let's go ahead and launch digital certificate by simply using an asterisk as part of the certificate signing request. I am glad that you joined me for this nugget. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.